In this video, we are going to be reviewing the Logitech MX Vertical. Logitech is known for their mice, and I have to say I am a big fan of them. I have been using their mice for a very long time, and I really enjoy some of the customizations you can do on their products. I have been using the MX Master series since it came out, and before that I was using the MX Performance. Currently I am using the MX Master 2S, the second generation, not the third, but I did pick up the MX Vertical, looking for a more ergonomic solution. Their mice are already pretty comfortable as it is, but for some reason I cannot hold my mouse in a proper position, so I figured the vertical mouse might be able to help, and I think it has done that job pretty well in helping me hold the mouse in the proper way. But along with helping me hold the mouse in the right way, it also does help a lot with the ergonomics in making sure that your wrist is going to be in a good position as well. The mouse is inclined at a 57-degree angle. They say that it's very similar to a handshake. Your hand pretty much goes straight out almost. It's sloped at a very slight angle, but it's more of a handshake and not quite, for my experience, a natural resting hand position. I feel I'm extending it to the right more than I would traditional resting hand position, but for the most part, it is better to move right than to rotate it down left, how most normal mice work. The MX Master already had some sort of ergonomics built in, but for me it wasn't enough, and it wasn't a substantial amount to consider a majorly ergonomic mouse as this one is. It has this very cool snail-like pattern with a curling shell all around. It's got a textured interior. It's made mostly out of rubber and plastic, but there's a little bit of metal on the top for the button. Speaking of buttons, we only have three. We have a forward back button, and then we have our mode switching button. The mode switching button, as default, allows you to change your DPI on the mouse, changes the sensitivity, and the forward and back buttons can be customized. But if you don't want that setting, you can change it inside the Logitech Options app. All three of the buttons can be customized to however you want. I have mine set to switch between desktops, and I have the mode switching button to show mission control. If you're familiar with any of the MX products, you'll be familiar with all of the buttons you can customize. This does have three, but it does not have nearly as many as I'm used to with the MX Masters. There is no thumb button. There is no free ratchet scrolling, which I will talk about in a minute. And we also do not have our side-scrolling wheel. That's kind of unfortunate and something I really do use a lot, especially with our video editing projects. I use that side-scrolling wheel quite often, and it's kind of unfortunate that it is gone. Moving back to the scrolling wheel, it is a very different mechanism from what we're used to in the MX Master series. This is a traditional scroll wheel that you've seen in most mice and their cheaper MX Travel series. This one has a fixed ratcheting. It does not change into free flow mode at all. There's no option to disengage it like the MX Performance, and there's no automatic disengaging like the MX Master series. It's not the smoothest. There's even no option for smooth scrolling in the Logitech Options app like it is in the Masters. And as settings wise, it's fairly limited. You can change your scroll speed, your cursor speed, and that's pretty much it. You do have all the same options for your buttons, but you just have less buttons to choose from. One of my favorite features about this mouse is that it is super lightweight. It is so much lighter than the MX Master, and it allows you to move it around a lot easier. It puts a lot less strain on my wrist when I have to pick it up and move it every single time that I'm going across my screen. It's a lot lighter and it's a lot easier to move. I really enjoy that part of it. For me, I have a couple of complaints with this mouse. One is the scroll wheel. As I already mentioned, I really like the free scrolling and the ratcheting options. And in fact, they feel a lot clickier and better on the MX Masters compared to this kind of mushy, rubbery scrolling wheel on this one. Also, I missed some of the buttons. I really like all of my button options. And then finally, I feel like the mouse isn't as most comfortable as it possibly could be. As I mentioned, it is a 57-degree angle similar to a handshake, but for me, I feel like that's at a somewhat of a uncomfortable angle for me. It may be different for you, but that's how I feel. And I actually kind of like the MX Masters better. I actually had my hand hurting at the end of the day when I used the MX Vertical, never when I used the Master, but the Vertical, it kind of hurt several hours into use. But it is a very cool mouse. It fits great in my hand and it feels really nice. The scrolling wheel is not the best. I do miss my buttons, but if you haven't had an MX Master before, You have 3 fully customizable buttons, which are very useful if you've never experienced that before. As a video editor, I do enjoy my side-scrolling wheel. Not a major issue because I do have a trackpad, but it is nice to have that integrated into the mouse if I want. Pricing for this is $100, the exact same price as the MX Master 3. So I feel like those are 2 great points of comparison when you're looking for a new mouse. The MX Master 3 is semi-ergonomic and it has a lot of buttons and customization. The MX Vertical has less customization but is geared mainly towards ergonomics. So there's not a lot you have to compare between the two when it comes to price and features. It's mainly the extra buttons and the shape of it is up to you. But it's nice that they do have that price point the same, since they are kind of the same type of mouse. As for me, I'm not the biggest fan and I cannot recommend the MX Vertical, but for some others who may like that type of setup, it could be a pretty good mouse. I think it's one of the best vertical mice I have used, but for me, it's not my favorite and I actually prefer my MX Master. If you do want to learn more, I will leave a link to it in the description below. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. If you like this video, leave a like and hit the subscribe button for more videos like this. This is Mark and I'll see you in the next one.